Full programme of Premier League matches over the next 72 hours. The big one tomorrow, Chelsea against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. As we focus on Chelsea, because it really has been quite the roller coaster for Frank Lampard's side over the last few weeks. They just can't get any sort of consistency going. Frank Leboeuf, let's start with you as a former Chelsea man. How concerned are you with their form of late?
I'm not that too much concerned about the fact that Chelsea has no consistency because of what happened last summer, the fact that they couldn't get any new player. Frank Lampard, who is a young coach, has brought many young players in the squad, and of course you're going to find an experience in that matter. And for me, it's just normal that you see after the Boxing Day that players need to digest the fact that they had to play too many games in a short timing. So I'm not surprised. I can be a little bit frustrated sometimes, especially against Newcastle, that I saw the game and you say, oh my God, yeah, they should have done better. Of course they can do better, every time better, but nobody could have bet Chelsea could have been, fourth, even in January, 5 points ahead of Manchester United and some other clubs. So it's not that bad, but consider that you have what? Jorginho, Kante, Willian as very experienced and top world players. Otherwise, he's very young. James, Mount, Pulisic, Abraham, Hutchison, and some others. So it's just normal to see Chelsea struggling a little bit at some point. But I think it's still, for me, a positive season and a good season from Frank Lampard and the players.
Well, it depends, I suppose, on how it all ends, isn't it? Because as much as he's garnered so much good grace considering the start of the season, you're in a position now where really Champions League has to be your goal, considering as well what's going on behind you with United and Spurs and Arsenal and all that mess, which we talked about before. You want top four. I understand he's done well, but come on, you need to get over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see that Frank's being optimistic, and rightly so. But at the same time, I think Frank, out of all the managers, I think he'll be the frustrated one. Listen, Arsenal are going to need a complete rebuild. United, as we said, are way off. And I think Frank will be frustrated because the losses at the Bridge, the losses against West Ham, Southampton, Bournemouth, the loss against Newcastle last week at St James's Park, this team could be sitting in second. They could be well clear and nailed on for top four. So Frank will probably be a little bit frustrated because, Frank Lampard I'm talking about, he'll be frustrated because he'll be looking what's behind him. And he'll be thinking, if we're this inconsistent and all of a sudden if Spurs or United or Wolves can put a really good run together, we might be then in danger of missing out on top four. So that'll be a real concern. I do happen to fancy them against Arsenal at home. It's a little bit of a contradiction, I know, but Arsenal are not in great form under Mikel Arteta. Only 1 win in 5. They look very flaky, leaking goals for fun. And I think this might be the ideal game for Chelsea. The last thing they would have needed was a tricky tie against someone that's going to sit in. And that's where they've struggled. They need more goals from wide areas. So I think this type of game when Arsenal are going to come at them actually might suit Chelsea.
Go on, Frank, quickly.
Yeah, just want to answer to Don. Of course, it's frustrating, and of course, Frank Lampard can be, and he could have been better. But again, when you see, when we talked, we can talk about Manchester United, and we did a lot of time in every shows that we do. When you see Arsenal, as you said, struggling, you can wonder, if it's not something positive. Don't forget that Chelsea is still in the Champions League. So it means a lot, with the young and experienced players. Achieving what Frank Lampard is doing right now is quite of something for me. And I think we try to demean what he's doing and what the player is doing. And we can't ask too much to a team who overall doesn't know what is the biggest level.
Yeah, but I think I agree, Frank. But at the same time, when you look at the squads that are going for the top four and take Man City and Liverpool out the equation, Chelsea have got the best squad. I know they're young, but they've still got, in my opinion, the best squad out of all the big teams that are trying to get in the top four. We mentioned the goalkeeper who's not in great form. They've got good defenders. Reece James is a very promising player. Antonio Rudiger is one of the best centre-halves, in my opinion, in the league. Then you go into midfield and we talk about Kante and Kovacic and Jorginho. They've got the talent. I know Frank's looking for someone that's going to score them goals because Willian hasn't got too many. It's a shame that Pulisic's been injured, but they're looking for more from Hutchison, more from Pedro, who hasn't started too many games. So I know he's quite happy with the front men that he's got. Yes, they'd love to bring in a world-class striker, of course, but I know that he's looking from goals in a wide area.
We've got to bring it in the studio. Call him Lampard. I know he's your BFF, but it's all confusing when you're like Frank Leboeuf.
Oh, no. Well,
so many Franks.
Frank was just sat there with a glass of wine off camera, and Don was talking about...
we haven't got too much time.
Well, I don't care.
Chelsea Arsenal.
Tough. We'll just stay on air as long as we want.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
At the end of the day, whether we can move the break. At the end of the day, whether we sit here and talk about Solskjaer till the cows come home, and I know it's different because Chelsea had a transfer ban and they lost Eden Hazard, but let's not cry about all that stuff. We talk about Solskjaer with his injuries and his job. Frank Lampard cannot escape scrutiny if Chelsea self-destruct and are overtaken by this horrible United side or Wolves or maybe even Tottenham come in with a late run. So we cannot judge and sit here and say Solskjaer's not doing this, this and this. If Frank Lampard doesn't get them in the top 4 from the position that they were in, then I'm afraid scrutiny's going to have to come his way.
Who wins tomorrow, Shane?
Chelsea.
To catch up with more of Shaka Hislop's fascinating musings, you can catch our daily podcast, which is available on the website. Plenty of bonus material there for you as well.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.